All right, good morning, Taylor Gang. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, so the court should be. I gotta get it.
If we're gonna do this, we need to set some rules.
Your behavior is unacceptable.
Court should be starting up here in the bit. So just to kind of give y'all a rundown of what's gonna happen today. So, we are on day 8. They're getting ready to charge the jury with instructions. And then we're gonna do closing arguments. All right. From that point on, we will be on verdict watch. All right, we'll be on verdict watch. Closing arguments usually get 2 hours. I doubt these people take 2 hours to do their closings. And rebuttals. Like I would hope that it wouldn't take that long. So that is the plan today. I will tell you guys at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, I have an interview. Somebody is interviewing me. I'm getting interviewed on the Turning Point podcast, Miss Ebonice. I know y'all have seen her in here a few times. Miss Ebonice is going to be interviewing me. So we will actually cut and we'll switch over to the interview so that you guys can watch. A lot of people ask questions about like how I kind of got into this, a little bit about my background and just my thoughts on why I sell in general. And so Miss Ebonice is going to dig into that today. And so hopefully I'll be able to bring that to you live and direct. Also, I think we should watch The Wedding Anniversary Murder. So the guy that is accused of killing his wife on their 1-year anniversary. And he allegedly admitted to it. So I think that would be a good trial for us to watch. They're on day 4, so we're behind, but I think we could watch it. I think that'll be a good one, and the audio is good. Y'all know we love a good audio. We love a good audio. So I think that that'll be the trial that we may shift into while we're on verdict watch. But those are just a few things that are happening today. Good morning. Good morning. We got Jean here this morning, Pam, Miss Hershey, Beta, Joanna, Nicole, Fancy, hey girl, Lacey, Yaya, Kim, good morning, y'all. Good morning, Taylor Gang. We got all my girls this morning. We're gonna have a good time. All right, if you are watching from YouTube, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, and hey, Monique, subscribe, and we got memberships available. So if you want to support me, you can get a membership. I think they're like $2.99. I want to say they're $2.99. I tried to make it cheap. Good morning. Good morning. So I have a question. When y'all get into the chat, does YouTube show y'all the rules? Like, be respectful, be kind. Do they show y'all the rules when you enter into the space? So I wanted to make sure that was working. Not that we ever have issues over here, because y'all know we keep it grown and graceful. Okay, cool. Thank you, Beta. We don't have problems over here. We keep it grown and graceful. So yeah, I got us queued up for the wedding anniversary trial. We're gonna be cool. Welcome. All right, so we just wait for court to start. They were supposed to start at 8:30 now. We know this judge, he be on top of it. We know he be like, let's get it going. So I'm surprised that we ain't starting on time. I'm super surprised that we aren't starting on time. I'm gonna have to get myself ready for my interview. Well, actually, I'm just gonna take my twist down so I can have I'm have wavy hair. not necessarily curls, but waves. And I'm gonna put on a nice shirt. You know, just be real cute, see, real demure. Very demure. I can't say the word no matter what. It don't matter. It don't matter how many times I try. Demure. Very demure. Yes, very cute. What's for breakfast? But I haven't even thought about it yet, but I do need to get breakfast because it's gonna be a long day. Actually, the past 2 days, I fasted for breakfast and I ate lunch. I had early lunches, but today, you're right. I need to get breakfast because um it's gonna be a deep after this afternoon. Gonna be kind of hectic. Okay, so do I want to eat a waffle or do I want to scramble? My breakfasts are usually like the same. I actually miss like cooking breakfast because I could really go for some sausages, rice, and eggs this morning. Good morning, Marla. Hey, Cindy, welcome. What's up, G? Welcome to the chat. So I like the breakfast scrambles from Chick-fil-A, the breakfast scramble bowls with the hash browns, the chicken and the eggs with the cheese. Like I love it. That's what I be eating from Chick-fil-A when y'all be seeing me. I get that with yogurt and I have a drink, but I burn myself out on pancakes. Yeah. Or I go to or I'll order First Watch and I'll give me a trifecta with the waffle eggs and $1 million bacon because I love the $1 million bacon. The $1 million bacon fire. It's fire. It's undefeated. Ooh, that bacon fire. I might be getting First Watch today. I might be getting First Watch today. Y'all, I'm talking about that $1 million bacon do something to me every time. It do something to me every time. Like it is so good. I think that's what I'm getting today. I think I'm getting First Watch. I'm telling you, the trifecta is top notch. Like nice. I love bread. I never get burnt out on pancakes, waffles, and bagels. Their potatoes are unmatched too. I've seen the $1 million potatoes and I want to try them, but I'm not a real big potato person. Like I don't even really like French fries. So I don't really like I want to try them just because I want to try them, but it's like one of those things that I wish somebody else would order it and so I could taste it instead of me paying $10 for some potatoes that I might not like. So, that I may not eat. It's not even that I may not like them that I may not eat. I'm not a potato person. Like I eat a baked potato all day long though. The baked potato, butter sour cream, I tear it down. But if I'm not like a big French fry person, or like a breakfast potato person. Like I'm just not. I don't know why. But I've been like that since a kid. So my cousin, he doesn't eat hamburger meat at all. He don't eat hamburger meat. And he hasn't eaten it since we were children because they told him about mad cow disease, and he's never eaten a hamburger since. Like, and he was literally like 5, and I was like 3, or maybe he was 6, and I was like 3, something like that. Because he's a little bit older than me, and so they told him about mad cow disease, and the boy never ate a hamburger again. Never ate a hamburger again. So when we were kids, they used to buy us like when we used to go to McDonald's, they used to buy like a 2 cheeseburger meal, and I used to get the burgers, and he used to eat the fries because I don't eat fries. Like I never really have. So it was so it was just an interesting thing. What's funny too, Lacey, is that Marley loves potatoes. Marley love her French fries. She loved hers. I made some steak bites last week with like some smothered potatoes, and baby, she was turning them potatoes up. She loved potatoes. Yeah, Lacey, he was like, nah, we not even gonna try that again. Let me make sure I got us up on a live. Okay, we're live feed stream. He's like, nah, we're not gonna. To this day, that man, like, how am I? I'm not about to tell y'all my age, but he's almost like, if he not 40, he almost 40. And yeah, he still don't eat hamburgers. Don't eat taco meat. None of that. None of that. But you know what? I'm a person too that I hate the smell of ground beef cooking. Like I can't.
With your support, we can respond rapidly to emergencies and make every second count.
How to prepare for winter. Plan A. Use diesel fuel supplement plus cetane boost to prevent your diesel fuel from...
Okay, yeah. But I don't like ground beef. I don't like the smell of ground beef cooking. Like it is not a good. It's not a good smell. Like it make me. It is not good. So I cook a lot of turkey meat, like ground. If I need like they ground type like meat for rotel tacos, like we eating turkey meat all day long. It's turkey. I have started making hamburgers again recently, but like when I say recently, it's just because like I be trying to feed the people without having to buy food. And I mean recently. So within like the past like 2 years, I've been I made hamburgers, and they come through here once in a while. They don't come through here often at all. I can't stand the smell of it. And it's like too, you need to like buy the hamburger meat and cook it the same day. Don't have that meat sitting in the refrigerator. Don't have it sitting in the freezer talking about you're gonna thaw it out. You got to buy it and cook it the same day. Otherwise, it ain't no good. I had fear pizza at 36. It looks so good, but I can't take a bite. I could ground beef, bet your top dollar I'm not eating it. But if someone else cooks it, I'll eat it. I can't get with it. Can't get with it, y'all. My grandson hates meat, period, but will eat French fries all day. He hates the smell of all meats and gags when I cook it. You know what? These kids, they know something. These kids know something. I knew of a child who did not eat meat either. And the reason why the kid doesn't eat it, and she say like, we're not supposed to eat that. Like, this is a little bitty kid. Like, we're not supposed to eat that. That's not what we're supposed to eat. So she's to this day, I want to say she's like 16, 17 now. Vegetarian. She may even be vegan. I don't know if she eats cheese or not. Never had meat. Never had it. I can't feel like I'm eating a corpse or something. Laughing my butt off. The sight of turkey on Thanksgiving drives me insane. Ooh, we don't eat turkey. We had some duck though this year. Yeah, I don't eat meat. Yeah, meat don't sit in the fridge like it used to. It goes bad quicker these days. Mm-mm-mm. When you think about it, meat is disturbingly disgusting. It really is. It really is. But God dog it, when it comes to that bacon, pork is easy. Pork is easy to stop eating. It's the bacon that's the problem. It's the bacon that's the problem. Bacon is the problem. That's the problem. And while we on the topic of bacon, I started to Trulicity like 6 months ago, and I
Seated, everyone, and thanks everyone for being here. Is everybody ready to proceed? All right, then show the jury in. We agreed on 45 minutes. Anybody want any 2-minute warnings? Half and half, 2-minute warning. Okay, I'll give you that. You got it. Good morning. You know, nothing personal. Y'all seem like really good people, but I hope today's the last time I tell y'all good morning. You know, yesterday, I trust no one had any problem with court's instructions not to discuss the case, not allow anyone to discuss the case with you, not form or express an opinion, investigate the case in any matter. If you had any problems, then determine in the trial of the case in that regard, speaking now forever hold the seat. I trust you have it. Yesterday, when we were breaking yesterday afternoon, I let you go early because I knew we had to get jury instructions together. I debated on whether to just keep y'all a while and see if we could get those done quickly and let y'all start the deliberations yesterday evening. But about 9:30 last night, when we were finally leaving the courthouse, I think I made the right decision to let y'all go home. But we have worked hard getting these together. We apologize for the delay to you, but as I said before, this is important. We want to get it right. And I appreciate y'all's patience with us. This morning, I am going to read you the jury instructions. You will then have closing arguments by the attorneys. Like states as it matters, burden of proof will go first. The defense will then have its closing argument, and then the state will have its closing. On the record, other than the objections previously stated yesterday when we were having our jury conferences, are there any objections to the instructions given? Any additional objections? All right, here we go. Pay attention. I will say this. It's going to take a little while to read, bear reading, but you'll also be given written copies of these jury instructions, but still pay attention. All right. Members of the jury, you have heard the testimony and received the evidence introduced in the course of this trial. The court will presently instruct you as to the rules of law which you will use and apply to the evidence in reaching your verdict. When you took your place in the jury boxes, you made an oath that you would follow and apply these rules of law to the evidence in reaching your verdict in this case. It is therefore your duty as jurors to follow the law which I shall now state to you. On the other hand, it is your exclusive province to determine the facts in this case and to consider and weigh the evidence for that purpose. The authority thus vested in you is not an arbitrary power, but must be exercised with sincere judgment, sound discretion, and in accordance with the rules of law stated to you by the court. Both the state of Mississippi and the defendant have a right to expect that you will conscientiously consider and weigh the evidence and apply the law of the case, that you will reach a just verdict regardless of what consequences of such verdict may be. It is your duty to determine the facts and determine them from the evidence produced in open court. You should not be influenced by bias, sympathy, or prejudice. Your verdict should be based on the evidence and not upon speculation, guesswork, or conjecture. You are the sole judges of the facts in this case. Your exclusive province is to determine what weight and what credibility will be assigned to testimony and supporting evidence of each witness. You are required and expected to use your good common sense and sound honest judgment in considering and weighing the testimony of each witness who has testified. Although you, as jurors, are the sole judges of fact, you are duty-bound to apply the law as stated in these instructions to the facts as you find them from the evidence before you. You are not to single out one instruction alone as stating the law, but you must consider these instructions as a whole. Neither are you to be concerned with the wisdom of any rule of law, regardless of an opinion you may have as to what the law ought to be. It would be a violation of your sworn duty to base your verdict upon any other view of the law than that given. Arguments, statements, and remarks of counsel are intended to help you understand the evidence and apply the law, but are not evidence. Any arguments, statements, and remark having no basis in the evidence should be disregarded by you. The evidence which you are to consider consists of the testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits offered and received. Production of this evidence, courts, is governed by rules of law. From time to time during the trial, it has been my duty as judge to rule on the admissibility of evidence. You must not concern yourself with the reasons for the court's rulings, since they are controlled and governed by rules of law. You should not infer from any rulings by the court on these motions or objections to the evidence that the court has any opinion on the merits favoring one side or another. You should not speculate as to possible answers and to questions which the court did not require to be answered. Further, you should not draw any inferences from the content of those questions. You would disregard all evidence that was excluded by the court from consideration in the course of the trial. You are not bound by any rules of parliamentary procedure in your organization or in your deliberation, but the court suggests that you choose a person to speak for you. You may vote on your individual belief either by show of hands, secret ballot, or any other method you choose. If in stating the law to you, I repeat any rule, direction, or idea, or if I state the same rule in a different way, no emphasis is intended, and you must not draw any inferences therefrom. The form of the verdict is suggested in another written instruction or instruction. Your verdict may be in one of the suggested forms, and it should be written in the handwriting or printing of one of the individual jurors on a separate sheet of paper furnished to you for that purpose. None of the individual jurors has to sign your verdict. The order in which these instructions are given to you and the manner in which the instructions and exhibits are numbered has absolutely no significance. You will have with you in the jury room all the papers and evidence applicable to this case. Although during the trial, other papers, documents, exhibits, or charts may have been mentioned to you, once you have entered the jury room for deliberation, no other documents, papers, exhibits, or charts may be given to you. Transcripts of the trial testimonies or parts of the trial testimony are not available. When you enter the jury room for deliberation, the court suggests to you that you discuss the facts of the case and review these written instructions before you begin voting or attempting to decide the case. The burden of proving the defendant guilty of every material element of the crime with which the defendant is charged is upon the state of Mississippi. The law makes no distinction between direct and circumstantial evidence. It requires that before you return a verdict of guilty, the state of Mississippi must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty from all the evidence in the case. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of a crime to be innocent. This presumption places upon the state of Mississippi the burden of proving the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The presumption of innocence attends.
The best things never change. They just get better. Like Hardee's original bag, just $6.99.
Evidence which satisfied the jury of his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant is not required to prove his innocence or to offer any evidence at all. The verdict of the jury must represent the considered judgment of each juror. In order to return a verdict, it will be necessary that each juror agree thereto. In other words, all 12 of you must agree on a verdict in this case. It is your duty as jurors to consult with one another and to deliberate in view of reaching an agreement, if you can do so without violence to your individual judgment. If each of you must decide the case for yourself, but do so only after an impartial consideration of the evidence with your fellow jurors. In the course of your deliberations, do not hesitate to re-examine your views and change your opinion if convinced that your previous opinion was erroneous, but do not surrender your honest convictions as to the weight of evidence or effect of the evidence solely because of the opinion of your fellow jurors or for the mere purpose of reaching a verdict. Upon retiring to the jury room, you will select one from among your number to act as a foreperson. The foreperson will preside over your deliberations and will be your spokesperson before the court. If it becomes necessary during your deliberations to communicate with the court, you may send a note by the bailiff. During deliberations, no member of the jury should ever attempt to communicate with the court by any means other than a writing, and the court will never communicate with any member of the jury on any subject touching the merits of the case, otherwise in writing or orally here in open court. Bear in mind also that you are never to reveal to any person, not even me, how the jury stands, numerically or otherwise, until you have reached a verdict, unless asked by me in open court. The defendant has a constitutional right not to testify on his own behalf in this case. You are not to make any conclusions or inferences of guilt about the defendant as a result of the defendant exercising his right not to testify on his own behalf. You will not consider in any way during your deliberations the defendant's decision not to testify. Each person testifying under oath is a witness. You have the duty to determine the believability of the witness. In performing this duty, you must consider each witness's intelligence, the witness's ability to observe and accurately remember, the witness's sincerity, and the witness's demeanor while testifying. You must consider also the extent to which the witness is either supported or contradicted by other evidence, the relationship the witness may have with either side, and how the witness might be affected by the verdict. You must consider any evidence of the witness character. You must consider any evidence of the witness's character for truthfulness. In weighing a discrepancy by a witness or between witnesses, you should consider whether it resulted from an innocent state or a deliberate falsehood, and whether it pertains to a matter of importance or an unimportant detail. You may reject or accept all or any part of a witness's testimony, and you may reject part and accept other parts of a witness's testimony. After making your own judgment, you will give the testimony of each witness the credibility, if any, as you may think it deserves. The weight of the evidence is not necessarily determined by the number of witnesses testifying as to the existence or non-existence of any fact. You may find that the testimony of a smaller number of witnesses as to any fact is more credible than the testimony of a larger number of witnesses to the contrary. Any fact in this case may be proved by either direct or circumstantial or evidence or both. Direct evidence is direct proof of the fact, such as testimony by a witness about what the witness personally saw, heard, or did. Direct evidence is a testimony of someone who claims to have actual knowledge of a fact. Direct evidence is simply evidence which, if you believe, it directly proves a fact. An example is a witness testified that he saw it raining outside and you believed him. That would be direct evidence that it is raining. Fact or facts from which you could conclude by your reason and common sense that another fact exists, even though it has not been proven directly. Circumstantial evidence is proof of one or more facts from which you could find The court instructs the jury that a killing occurring while engaged in the commission of a kidnapping includes the action of the defendant leading up to the kidnapping, the action of the kidnapping, and the aftermath of the kidnapping. The court instructs the jury that inveigle means to lure or entice through deceit or insincerity. Inveigling has no component of force, but only coaxing. Acting with a depraved heart is when a person acts in a highly dangerous way, which shows that the person does not care for the safety of human life. Even if someone does not intend to kill any particular person, he can still be guilty of murder if he acts with a depraved heart and a person is killed as a result. Culpable negligence is negligence of a degree so gross as to be tantamount to a wanton disregard of or utter indifference to the safety of human life. Negligence is doing something that a reasonable, careful person would not do under similar circumstances, or failing to do something that a reasonable, careful person would do under similar circumstances. Second-degree murder and culpable negligence manslaughter are distinguishable simply by the degree of mental state of culpability. In short, second-degree murder involves a higher risk of recklessness from which malice may be implied. The defendant, Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr., is charged with the offense of capital murder. If you find from the evidence in this case beyond a reasonable doubt that Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr., on or about July 8, 2022, in Lafayette County, Mississippi, did unlawfully and feloniously without authority of law and with or without any design to effect death, killed Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, a human being, while Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. was engaged in the commission of the crime of kidnapping by, with or without intent to secretly confine, inveigling Jimmy Dale J. Lee III with the intent to cause Jimmy Dale J. Lee III to be confined against his will, then you should find that Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of capital murder. If you fail to find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of capital murder, then you shall continue your deliberation to consider the crime of first-degree murder. If you find from the evidence in this case beyond a reasonable doubt that Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr., on or about July 8, 2022, in Lafayette County, Mississippi, did willfully, unlawfully, and with deliberate design to effect the death of Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, killed Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, a human being, then you shall find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of first-degree murder. If you fail to find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of first-degree murder, then you shall continue your deliberation to consider the crime of second-degree murder. If you find from the evidence in this case beyond a reasonable doubt that Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr., on or about July 8, 2022, in Lafayette County, Mississippi, did willfully, unlawfully, and feloniously kill Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, a human being, without premeditated design to effect the death of Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, while engaged in the commission of an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved heart, regardless of human life, then you shall find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of second-degree murder. If you fail to find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of second-degree murder, then you shall continue your deliberations to consider the crime of manslaughter, culpable negligence. If you find from the evidence in this case beyond a reasonable doubt that Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr., on or about July the 8th, 2022, in Lafayette County, Mississippi, unlawfully and feloniously killed Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, a human being, with culpable negligence by engaged in dangerous sexual activity with Jimmy Dale J. Lee III, then you shall find Sheldon Timothy Harrington guilty of manslaughter, culpable negligence. If the state has failed to prove any of the above listed elements beyond a reasonable doubt, then you shall find the defendant not guilty of capital murder, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and manslaughter, culpable negligence. The court instructs you that all 12 of you must reach and agree upon a verdict. If the court instructs the jury that if all 12 of you reach and agree upon a verdict, you shall return the verdict to the court in one of the following forms. If you find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of capital murder, the form of your verdict shall be as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. Sheldon Timothy Harrington guilty of capital murder. If you do not find the defendant guilty of capital murder, then you shall continue your deliberations, consider the lesser charge of first-degree murder. If you find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of first-degree murder, the form of your verdict shall be as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of first-degree murder. If you do not find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of first-degree murder, then you shall continue in your deliberation and consider the lesser charge of second-degree murder. If you find Sheldon Timothy Harrington jury find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of second-degree murder. If you do not find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of second-degree murder, then you shall continue in your deliberations and consider the lesser charge of manslaughter culpable negligence. If you find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of manslaughter culpable negligence, the form of your verdict shall be, we, the jury, find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of manslaughter culpable negligence. If you do not find Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. guilty of manslaughter culpable negligence, then the form of your verdict shall be as follows. We, the jury, find the defendant Sheldon Timothy Harrington Jr. not guilty. Your verdict must be in one of the forms written above. You should write your verdict on a separate sheet of paper. It does not need to be signed. Did the court read the instructions that were okay?
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened, man, because it's like I'm plugged into the modem, so there should be like no computer issues, but we lost like 50 people from that. So I gotta make sure that my connections get back to par because we can't be losing viewers because the internet tripping. But I definitely want to go back and listen to that because I missed a little bit of it and I had to jump on a call. So I'm
Did the court read the correct jury instructions that have been decided by the parties?
Yes.
From the defense, did the court read the correct jury instructions?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Like, as I said earlier, these jury instructions will be available to you when you begin your deliberations. This time for the closing argument in this case. When we start here, we're probably going to be probably an hour and 10 minutes for the first two rounds anyway. If you don't think you can stay that long, once we begin the closing arguments, I don't want anyone coming and going or moving around in the courtroom, okay? All right. Y'all got the door back there. Don't let anyone in once we start these closing arguments. I'll take a break after the defenses have to let anybody come and go that wish to, okay? All right, you may argue for the state, and here's your instructions if you want them, okay? Let me give a card.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We've been here a long time. Make no mistake about it. This case is about the death of Jay Lee. Jay Lee lived his truth. Jay Lee, you heard all about it. Through the course of this trial, and I don't have very long, so I'm going to try to get to everything. But what the state has proven is that Tim Harrington lived a lie. Lived a lie to his family. He lied to Jay Lee to coax him over there, promised him to do something with him. That's what Jay Lee thought when he was going over there. If he'd have thought that he was going to be strangled to death, do you think he would have gone over? ladies and gentlemen, that's embezzlement, that's coaxing. Not only did he lie to his family and his friends about his sexuality, being on the down low, they all thought he was into women. But we know there was a secret that he was keeping in his life. He lied to them, he lied to his church, his family, his friends. He lied to Jay Lee to get him over that night because he had a problem that he had to fix. Then he lied to the police about everything. Deception, lies. He had to protect that lie. And what did he do to protect that lie? In order to protect that lie, he had to get rid of jail. And that's what he did. Now I want to go through and remind you about the proof. And before I do, you've heard four different, you've been instructed on four different crimes. Capital murder, first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and manslaughter. Manslaughter and second-degree murder is negligence. The actions that were taken by Tim Harrington to protect his lies is not negligence. Those don't apply. Mr. Horan said that we were going to offer all those and throw it all against the wall and hope something sticks. That's how the proof is shown, and that's not what we've attempted to do. This is capital murder. That's committing murder in the commission of kidnapping. And I can tell you, in kidnapping, enablement, where it says, you read about confining someone against their will, you heard another instruction that said that can be a bait switch. Coaxing someone over is a deception, insincerity. That's what happened. That's what we proved. Now, earlier in the trial, when it first started, we put on a series of witnesses that told you about Jay Lee, about his life, about the truth he lived. When he was alive, he was on social media, he dressed fashionably, his life was vibrant. And how do we know that he is dead? Because silence that his death left behind. You heard from Jennifer Buford. If you remember, she was the University of Mississippi advisor for his internship. He said that he had graduated. He graduated in social work and that he was involved. That's the last thing to consolidate that degree was to complete that internship. And she told you that she had a lot of contact with him, and then it was stopped. She was like, that's not normal. You heard from Jose Reyes. He described how that they were good friends, that they had the same interests, the Youngstown area on the Rhine, that he was living his truth, that he was unapologetically fashionable. He talked to you about that there were things that he loved. He loved his Pomeranian. I don't know if you recall, but he had a Christmas card that he had done with his Pomeranian where they both dressed up in pajamas. He had things that he loved, interest. He was vibrant and happy. You heard Khalid Fears talk about his relationship just within the time they met at the park until July 8th when he heard from him that morning. He described him as vibrant and happy. That he, didn't plan to go anywhere, and he was not depressed. He was not dealing with any psychological issues. And then you heard from Stephanie Lee. And if there's one thing that the state has proved beyond a reasonable doubt through Stephanie Lee is that she knew that her son was dead. Because on July the 8th, 2022, it was her birthday. And you heard about their relationship. They spoke multiple times a day, morning, their lunch break, and at her birthday. She woke up at 7 o'clock that morning to a message that Jaylee posted earlier in the morning and said, "It's your birthday." You can tell her testimony about her son, that her son loved her. She loved him. They had a special relationship. And she said he wasn't planning on going anywhere. If he had planned to go somewhere, she would know about it. You heard testimony from all these witnesses about things that he cared about. He cared about his car. It was a unique car. He loved it. Had, the Ford Fusion 2014 with the golden stripe on it. It was unique. You heard them testify that he couldn't have gone anywhere without any kind of financial means. Everything was there, the credit cards, debit cards. You heard them all testify how he used social media every day. You heard Jose Reyes say he was a little celebrity. People followed him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. And then after the morning of July the 8th, dead silence. You know from Jennifer Buford that he had the fundraiser project for his internship. He was still receiving packages of gifts for the children that were involved with CPS that were coming in after his disappearance. And you heard how much he loved that dog. And when that welfare check was conducted on his apartment at Campus Walk, the dog was there. And Jaylee's dog was there. He loved that dog so much that he had a dog bone on the back of his car, a sticker that said, "I love my Pomeranian." And then we're going to get to what Miss Stephanie dealt with on her birthday. Not only her birthday, but now a day that she will forever, for the rest of her life, know is the day that her son was born. Talked about the welfare check on Jose Reyes. No activity of any kind on social media. You heard the condition of his apartment when UPD gained access to the apartment. There was nothing packed, no clothes missing. Possession still there. No indication.
I only get one childhood.
Social media is taking it away from me. It makes us worry more.
He had not had a history of ever doing that. Now then we get to the elements. Capital murder. Timothy Harrington is charged with capital murder. The court has instructed you on the elements. The elements are, we have to prove that Timothy Harrington, the defendant, identified multiple witnesses from the stand and compared to evidence in the case, photographic and otherwise, testimony. If you recall the video surveillance from Molly Bar Trails of the individual with the hoodie coming out, and then moments later, the video surveillance from Rockets, Keziah Carter said, that was Tim Harrington. Tim Harrington admitted in his interview to being picked up by Keziah Carter. Had to admit it because all those convenience stores had surveillance. Keziah Carter was a witness, knew him, admitted. On or about July 8, 2022, all the evidence you have centers around that day. July 8, text messages, silence. Silence after 6:03 a.m. from the last message from Jaylee. In Lafayette County, Mississippi, you heard the chief of police say that all of that evidence within that period of time occurred at Lafayette Police. So, proving date and location, Lafayette Place Apartments, where all of these activities took place. That is in Lafayette County, state of Mississippi. So we've proven that. Proven Lafayette you have to take into account all of this. And you begin with what? You begin with Timothy Harrington had a problem. What was that problem? Jay Lee says in the message, I just wanted to be able to say I had you on the down low. And he left because of a disagreement. He left after that first meeting. Jay Lee was not happy. Tim Harrington knew he wasn't happy because you'll see the nature of their text indicate that. The judge instructed you to use your good common sense and sound honest judgment. And that's what it's talking about. All your life experiences collectively to be able to evaluate what this conversation is about. The problem was that Jay Lee was leaving unhappy. He was living this life loud and proud. Timothy Harrington was living a lie. All of that was in jeopardy. Just graduated, had plans to be somebody. Had plans to be somebody. He didn't want anybody to know his secret. Jay Lee heightens that problem by blocking Tim Harrington. Tim Harrington has no way to solve the problem. So what does he do? He goes into another account that Jay Lee didn't know, Red Eye 24, and you heard from Ben Douglas about how he identified who Red Eye 24 was. Major break in the case. Access Jay Lee's account, sees these messages coming in on Jay Lee's Snapchat. When Red Eye 24 makes contact with Jay Lee says, who the TF is this? He doesn't know. Good common sense and sound honest judgment. And then, this is where we learn about this group. And over here on the right side, Jay Lee tells him, you wouldn't do what I wanted you to do. And that was not a good thing. And so, it continues on. You tried to do some questionable shit. That was too much. Have a good night, Tim. Tim still has a problem. Even Jay Lee thinks that, hey, you may just be trying to get me back over here so you can beat my ass or something. Coaxing, luring, enticing, where it says me, you tripping. I feel bad because we cool. So I ain't trying to end it like this. I'm trying to get them back. Jay Lee says, how are we cool? Right under that, hooks and luring says, I'm saying you're a cool person. It's flattering Jay Lee. And right there, Jay Lee stops talking about the problem that they had earlier and starts talking about sex, which is what they meant for. They quit talking about the problems and they started talking about fun. And right here in the message, Jay Lee says, the only way I'm coming over it is if you do something for me. It was conditional. And so what does Tim Henry say? All right. More importantly is the timing of this. Because right after the conversation switches to the condition, you look at it, it's 5:45. And I do want to say where it says, why do you keep deleting that? I think when somebody's typing a message, you see, it deletes. Why do you keep deleting? And Tim says, all right, so Jay Lee says, all right, I'll come back but later tonight. Tim says, no, don't wait later, come now. Jay Lee says, LOL. In response to Dory Coaxing insincerity, right there on the bottom right of the message, possibly later tonight, Tim Harrington, LOL. Trying to reduce the disagreement and make it from there. Jaylee responds with LOL. Then at 5:54 a.m., Jaylee says, I'm coming over. I'm going to come over. 5:54. That's consistent with the campus walk video reports where we see Jaylee in the road with his key in his phone. Then, after 5:54, we know what Jaylee's doing. What is Tim Harrington doing? Tim Harrington is searching. How long does it take to strike this? Right after this conversation. And right after that, he talks about how quick it is for testosterone. That this is the Google search. You can see the time, 5:57 a.m., July 2022. How long does it take to strike? Then, 6:03 a.m., message from Jaylee, Tim Harrington, says open. It's at the door. That, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is the last message Jaylee ever sent. Why? Dead silence. Now, Tim had a problem. Jaylee blocked him, red eye 24. Now, Tim Harrington's actions after Jaylee sends that open message is proof of his crime. You've heard, you've got your instruction on there about luring. You take into consideration what in the commission of a crime means. A continuous crime from luring him up over there to the actual act, and then what happens after. So he lured him over there, killed him, how do we know? He searched him, and then staged all of the evidence after that. So what were his actions? Well, in the interview, he lies to the police, number one, about the nature of the relationship that he had with Jaylee. He says, oh, he just came over to give me a gift. We cool. Everybody knows I'm leaving. You know, big man on campus. He was just going to bring me a gift like everybody else. Maybe sat in his car for a little bit, and that was it. Lied to the police about the nature of the relationship. He also says in the interview that that when even in the second interview, he said, "Oh yeah, we just had a hookup, and he left. You know, everything was fine. It wasn't like he left mad or anything." But they said, "Did you go anywhere else?" And he said, "Yeah, we left at the same time, and I went to Walmart." Well, if you look at the Walmart video, you look at the Walmart receipt. He checked out at 6:49. What did he buy? He bought duct tape. You've also seen video surveillance of him looking at a big trash can, rolled trash can. He has no need for it. Lafayette Place Apartments got the dumpster. He says he's moving to Dallas in a few weeks. There's no need for that. Then he goes from Walmart in his Ford Escape, goes to the links and gets a box truck when he doesn't have a job to do. Tyson King said we didn't have a job to do. His witness, his best friend, Ken from Grenada, said if we had a job down there, there's no digital footprint, no messages of any job whatsoever. He gets the box truck, comes back and going back to that place. And then he stages the car. And if you remember, we did. He told the police that he went for a run. That was the only place he ever said anything about going to Grenada. And investigators mapped out the back road run, 7.2 miles from 7 was in Molly Bar Trails at 7:34, and he was driving by Nose in the box truck almost 30 minutes early. There's no way to make that. Lie to the police. Not only that, he's deceptive. He's trying to keep them away from looking at Jackson Road, which we proved right here, that at 7:02, Jay Lee's vehicle goes by Rainbow Cleaners. Not only that, what's tracking with that car? Jay Lee's phone. And then it tracks all the way to Molly Bar Trails at 7:25, 7:26, Jay Lee's phone is silent. 7:26. Then we have 7:34. The video footage of Tim Harrington running out of Molly Bar Trail apartment. And we have that connected to the surveillance of him getting in as our Carter's car. One of the most important things is on July 10th, UPD issues a press release that's out on social media. And if you look on the right side of that screen, Tim Harrington searches Molly Bar Apartments. In that press release, Molly Bar Apartments is not mentioned. Not only that, law enforcement is not even aware that Jay Lee's car is at Molly Bar Apartments. But Tim Harrington, he's already searched. Then he searches the Alec Cosfield case, and then searches for Tony Freeze. We talked about it later. And throughout the next few days, he searches Jeannie Lee, body found in water. All those searches. And if you remember, he searched for police appreciation. If you remember that during this time that he's doing those searches about Jay Lee, Jeannie Lee, but he never contacts the police to tell them, hey, you know what? If you really appreciate the police, give them the information. You know why I didn't? Second. To me, this is the most important image. This is an image at 5:58, Jay Lee leaving the apartment. In that picture, you can see the key to his car. You can see the phone where he was talking to Clear Theaters. And you can see Jay Lee in his robe and slippers. The last person to ever have custody and control of those keys is Tim Harrington. The last person to have custody and control of that phone is Tim Harrington. You know that by tracking that car, Molly Bar Trails apartment, where that phone goes through. You know that key was there because you had to have the key to drive the car there. The last person to ever have his hands on Jay Lee is Tim Harrington. And you know what? Because of Tim Harrington's actions, nobody was able to find the key phone or Jay Lee. Because Tim Harrington didn't want to. And I submit to you that he should not get the benefit of getting rid of those keys. He should not get the benefit of getting rid of that phone. He should not get the benefit of getting rid of Jay Lee's body. Ladies and gentlemen, prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. We're going to ask you to go back to the jury, do your deed, and find Tim Harrington guilty of capital murder, ending Jay Lee's life to protect his own future.
All right, you ready?
Okay, stay. I did tell people.
What now?
The fence is up next.
All right, don't take a minute. And if you take a minute, set that computer up. If anybody needs to leave now, they can do so while they're or come in now. They can do so while they're shutting the computer up. But if you leave if the door is shut when you come back, you just out. You bring me some business, Sheriff. Have y'all got something out of Calhoun County today? I think y'all may have a plea out of chicken or something like that. It might be chicken.
I agree. I think the state did a wonderful closing. They were very to the point, very direct, and told the story. I don't think that, I do think we're going to go back and re-listen to those jury's instructions because we had an internet issue. So we're going to go back and re-listen to it. But I do believe that he's going to be found guilty on something for sure. My opinion is that that car, Jay Lee's car, his phone, and then the results from his phone, like that, I think that put the nail in the coffin for me. Like that let me know that you did something to unalive him. You did something to make him be quiet. Because at that point, Jay Lee became silenced. So I 100% think that he's going to be found guilty of something. Again, I want to go back and listen to those jury instructions to hear how they were read, because that's going to be the determining factor on which charge. I think for sure they got manslaughter. So I think if anything, my bet is that it's going to be either first degree or second degree. I'm not 100% sure on the capital because I think I missed a lot of that, those instructions. But, he not walking out of there. He not walking out of there. Not today. I also don't think it's going to take the jury a long time. I give them 1 to 2 hours. Those are my predictions. So why don't y'all drop y'all predictions down in the chat? He is not in custody right now, Keandra. He is out on bond, but he is out on bond. So drop y'all predictions down in the chat. Which charge do you think he's going to get? And he's on an ankle monitor. Thank you, Hershey. And let me know how long you think it's going to take the jury to deliberate.
Ready, Kevin? All right. You said 4 minutes, didn't you? 4 minutes.
Just want to make sure we're able to hold this up. Got it.
You may.
Ladies and gentlemen, like Mr. Creekmore said when we started this case, anticipating that the state would put on evidence and then try to convince you that this number of options that the state has proven, you would choose one of them. At the conclusion of his argument indicated the only evidence that you should consider, only verdict that you should consider as capital murder. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about 4 options that they claim are in the instructions, but they're really 5 options. 4 options are capital murder, first degree, second degree murder, manslaughter, and the 5th option, quite naturally, is not guilty. I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of where things started in this trial and go through a lot of different things. I'm going to try to make it through all the information that I have in 45 minutes, and that's not a whole lot of time to go over everything that I want to go over, because there's a lot of questions that I have in all these notes that I'm going to lay out for you that I think there's problems in the state's case. Now, if I say anything or I represent anything that's not factual and you disagree with me, please say to yourself, hey, Mr. O'Reilly, you were not paying attention to that testimony, or you misheard something. You remember what you remember that came from that witness stand and you saw on that screen. Not what I tell you, just like when Mr. Creekmore told you that my client made a statement he was a big man on campus, that just wasn't said in this court. He did not make that statement. That's just an example of what I'm talking about. You remember what you heard, what you saw. And also, what you can do is consider your verdict or lack thereof based on a lack of evidence. That includes whether or not certain things that you felt like you should have heard, but you didn't. We're going to talk about those things right now. We're going to start, first of all, and I've got so many questions on this pad, and ripped off 2 or 3 pads. I'm not as computer savvy as Mr. Creekmore, but I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we have problems with. Why in the world would an agency who spent $30,000 not on technology as far as the computer stuff, all that's taken care of. Mr. Baker's training to do those things. They spent $30,000 and running, according to the chief, on collecting evidence, Jimmy Harrison's apartment, J.Lee's car, and also from Tim Harrison's car. $30,000. Not only did they collect this evidence,
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need.
with the sole purpose of making sure they can extract every possible bit of evidence from Timmy Harrington's car. Timmy Harrington's car, Jay Lee's car, but obviously not, for whatever reason, Jay Lee's car. And it's not that big a deal, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, that they didn't go to Jay Lee's apartment initially. They needed to go over and get his toothbrush so they could compare his deal. But later on in the investigation, as the days traveled on, it seems to me that they would have gone over and said, hey, look, let's go in here and try to figure out whether or not somebody had been here after they interviewed all these people and said Jay Lee was having strangers and hookups coming into his apartment. Now look, folks, I'm not telling you they would have found anything over there. Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, on January the 21st, Timmy Harrington became a suspect. That stopped all the other investigations. On July the 10th, 2022, they should have treated Molly Bar Apartments like a crime scene. They didn't do that. No indication whatsoever moving forward to September the 5th, 2024, when they got this lab report, that they should have gone back to Molly Bar for the purpose of drawing DNA evidence. No, that's not what I said. What I said was that they should have reinvestigated their case after September 5th, 2024, when this laboratory told them there's no evidence. Should have at least gone back to Molly Bar like they did when they went down to Grenada and went over to look at that place. That's the whole purpose of that piece of examination. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go down a few things real quickly before we move into some slides. You know, he indicated on his opening statement that my client was deceptive. Let's talk about deception in this case. Jose Reyes, he indicated, hey, look, I can't tell you anything about his personal life. Don't talk to Janelle. Again, what I'm trying to establish here, I want you to understand here, that during the course of this investigation, they should have broadened their scope a little bit more and say, let's look at these things going on in Jimmy Lee's life. Let's look at some of the other people outside of this direct circle. Let's look and see what's going on. What about Tyler Maddox? You know, he's the individual that not only gave deceptive information, he's the individual they eliminated by virtue of the fact that his ping location was at his house. Said he was looking at porn. In testimony here, the phone that put the person there. Again, I told y'all, and I told the officer, I'm not saying Tom Mathis committed any offense whatsoever. All I'm saying is, information. Why in the world does Colin Mathis get the benefit and not Timmy Harrison get the benefit? Ping location, providing deceptive information. Why is the standard being applied differently to Timmy Harrison in that circumstance? Khalid Pierce had to show him an exhibit on the stand he was shown on the stand, the conversation that he had with Mr. J. Lee about what? Choking conversation that they had between each other. That conversation pretty succinct, pretty detailed about what you like, what you don't like. That happened in June, shortly before Jay Lee had this encounter with my client. Khalid Fears was an associate, apparently, of Jay Lee, and must have been pretty good friends because they were talking at 5:58 in the morning, 3 or 4 minutes. And if you remember the conversation that we fought over in the courtroom, y'all heard us arguing about it, about what happened that particular morning in the conversation. Fears indicated from the stand that they had a conversation, and the gist of that conversation was what? Y'all remember? Jay Lee told him he was going back over to a place that he had been before, hooked up before, and they were going to have some fun. Now, I'll tell you that what's important about that conversation is, if you look at it, and the conversation on the screen pertaining to Mr. Fears, he testified, he remembered this conversation. Not only did he remember the conversation, he identified the conversation in the exhibit. This is exactly what he said. I like to go tap to tap. Fear. Okay, I'm not crazy. I feel like you are into BDSM, lead during sex. I enjoy a little mutual aggression. Correct. Oh, you like to choke and be choked. Now, that's not Fear. That's Jay Lee. What he testified from the stand, not only did he identify the message, he stated that he remembered that conversation specifically. Heavy on that. Do you have any kinks? I don't think so. I like to be aggressive and also put in my place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I asked Brian Baker, Texas Baker, whether or not he had investigated or looked into the Snapchat history or the Instagram history of Mr. Lee and even my client to determine whether or not there was any similar type conversations between them in the history of Mr. Harrington and Jay Lee consistent with this conversation. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think what he said, I didn't look. But wouldn't that be important for this investigation? If they're going to claim that my client lured him over there for that to have occurred, but look back at the picture, pointing to Mr. Harrington, they've known each other 2 or 3 months. Wouldn't you look at their history to see whether or not Jay Lee, Timmy Harrington, had any type of conversation like that? Well, subpoena didn't go back that far, according to what we have in the cell record. All right. I want to talk to you a little about the first conversation, the first time that night, Jay Lee, Timmy Harrington, any potential communication between the two. The first time was from not Timmy Harrington. It was from Jay Lee. It said, you and Austin, on the screen. You and Austin. That came from Jay Lee to Timmy Harrington. Conclusion of that text, that snap, what happened then? Timmy Harrington didn't respond to that message. Jay Lee is the individual at the time of that text. It says at 2:24:44, Timmy Harrington did not respond. Now I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, first thing I'm going to say straight up front. We introduced the lock audit report, and the state was slamming and going crazy about it. That's not reliable. Well, this is what they gathered in their investigation. And I thought it was quite odd every time that there's a piece of evidence that supported the defendant. It's not reliable. The lock audit, the Burger report, y'all had both of those reports. You remember what Detective Baker said about the Burger? Let's get to the Burger real quick. I mean, the lock audit. Go back to the lock audit, then I go to Burger. You remember what he said on the stand when he identified the document? We got an email telling us that lock audit report wasn't reliable. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let you decide. It's in evidence. I'm going to let you decide if it's reliable or you can consider it. But this is what we understand happened through the lock audit. And it appears to be, according to the evidence that they got on the search warrant, they got a search warrant on July the 22nd, the same day they went in Mr. Harrington's apartment. They got it for the lock audit for the resident key of his apartment. Search warrant returned for Timmy Harrington's lock audit. The door opens July the 8th, 2022, 6:41. Door opens July 8th, 2022, July 8th, 6:45. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all take that lock audit, put whatever weight and credibility that you want on it.
Premium brands for fashion and comfort at Lori Shoes.
And we have them in your size.
Hurry into Lori Shoes this holiday season for a huge selection of UGG shoes and boots, exotic comfort with Haflinger slippers and clogs, and the largest selection of Birkenstock in Glendale and Creve Coeur by Chick-fil-A. Oh, and don't forget Lori Shoes gift cards.
Professionally fitted in all sizes and widths.
Lori Shoes.
Now, getting back to conversations that morning, I asked the chief what conversations were in there that showed that the whole theme of this case had been proven, that my client was getting out. And here's two guys, young guys, talking to each other. Nobody's looking into their world at all. You would think that you would have all kind of conversations where 3 days ago or the last time they hooked up, there would have been some beginning of some problems with their relationship. So you go to the next message, the Instagram message, where Jay Lee, this word say, according to the chief, one word in the Instagram message, number 4. I just wanted to be able to say, I had you, be did. Now, Detective Baker, as you recall, when I specifically asked him, I said, Detective Baker, you can't tell us what the context of these conversations are. And I made reference to the conversations in the bottom of the Snapchat pertaining to something about, like to try to hurt me or something like that. He said, we have no idea what their prior conversation was about. That's exactly the point, ladies and gentlemen. We have no idea what these two young men talked about when they had a 14-second Snapchat conversation before we came over. We don't have any idea. But right here, Chief of Police, Oxford, Mississippi, when asked, what information do you have that supports the idea that he was about to out him? I just wanted to be able to say, I had you BDL. Again, Fund had been the first guy experiment of. What does that tell you? What it tells me, and the reasonable interpretation is that Jay Lee's making a comment to Timmy Harrington, hey, you had an experiment over. I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but it didn't sound to me like Jay Lee is making any type of threat to Timmy Harrington that he's going to out him. That's what the state wants you to believe. But this man killed Jay Lee over this one word. He said, say. That's what he testified to under oath. You go down to the remainder of it. He said, also, I noted on your floor, so you should get that up, by the way. Oh, and the nude was fake too. Back to block now. He's blocking Mr. Harrington, according to this, again. Put anything in evidence that he had even blocked him that particular night. He said, back to block. Hang up on him. Our conversation is over. Now we go to the next Snapchat. And I'm going through these because I think it's very important. I've talked about the 14-second call. But I go down to the next one where the Snapchat red eye. Who the TF is this? Now think about that red eye account. Ryan Baker admitted he had testified under oath previously that my client created that account for this transaction. We testified to, I showed it to him. His prior testimony, and he admitted, created that. I testified to that. Fundamentally false. I don't know if he had bad information or he misread it. I don't know. But that's a critical part of their case, whether or not this young man created this account for the sole purpose of luring him over. Not saying he didn't reopen it. That's not the point. They admitted on the stand. They do that all the time. Who the TF is this? It was, that's a response from Jay Lee to an invite from Timmy Harrington. He's accepting that. Is what he's doing. The next Snapchat involves basically, he says, what did you delete? These are conversations, if you read them in context, what you can understand is Jay Lee is the one controlling this conversation. It's clear from that. Jay Lee is controlling the conversation the entire time through this Snapchat history. He says, what did you just delete? You made it like this. And when you get over here, you wouldn't even eat my ass 1 hour ago after I cleaned and everything. Then you proceed to nut in my mouth. Think about that. I hate to talk about this stuff, but this is what the facts are. Think about what happened later on in the fears statement when he says that he's going over there to do something we've never done before. It can't be that Mr. Harrington is going to give him more sex. It can't be. This conversation right here contradicts that. Then he goes into all this information about effing nobody raw. Then he says, I'm going to stop harassing you now and that you want to stop blinking. You know how much of an asshole move that is. What he's saying is apparently he's upset, but no, it's Mr. Harrington is telling him, maybe we're not going to look up anymore. Fine. Now, the snap conversation next is the 14-second call that we talked about a few minutes ago. 14 seconds. They had a phone call and asked Mr. Baker about it. Nobody knows what that conversation was about. Nobody has any idea whether that conversation referenced any prior conversation or something they talked about when they got together earlier that night. Who knows? And I talked to y'all when I did open statements talking about speculation and wonderment, drawing conclusions, making the quantum leaps. That's what the state wants you to do. That all this conversation, they won't connect the dots with speculation, no facts to support, because we just don't know what they were talking about. Now, if you look at the next Snapchat we're going to talk about, it's number 8 in my list, questionable stuff before. Try not to say cussing in here. Like you done did some questionable SHIT before. But that was too much. Do we have any idea what they're talking about? Absolutely not. There's nothing else in that in the text string tells you whether or not they were talking about our sexual activity, doing anything moving forward, or anything that they've done 3 months ago. It's not in there. We don't know. Remember Ryan Baker's testimony. We have no idea what they're talking about. And here we go. I'll come if I get head in front of her. Jay Lee is controlling the entire conversation between these two individuals. It's obvious and apparent from this conversation. You move on down to the conversation that they continue to have that night. All this is in evidence. You'll be able to look at it. But as you move on down and you look at some of the conversations that they had, it continues the same way. Have a good night, Tim. Only way I'm going to see you if I get head up front. And you keep going down, and Tim says, okay, why do you keep deleting? And that's just okay. Tim says, I'm sorry, I misspelled something. And okay, I'll do it. That's Jay Lee telling Timmy, what are you deleting? He's the one that's being the dominant actor in this particular conversation, not my client. You know, if you do something bad, it won't end up good for you. Where in that conversation that they just had warranted some kind of comment like that from Jay Lee? Does that mean he's scared? No, he's the one saying, I may or may not come over there. If you look at the remaining of the text, he's the one that makes his comment. What prior to that warranted that? My client says, what do you mean something fast? like hurt me or some shit. Where's the threat there from Mr. Harrington? Where is the alluring aspect of this conversation? Timmy says, I know. And JD says, possibly tonight. But then he goes on to say, puts conditions on it. He continues to say, basically, I'll come later on tonight. Timmy says, I told you I'm leaving later today. And we know that's true. Because if you go back to the prior text message about the screws, we do know that Mr. Harrington, all this is in evidence, talk about trucking company, he's talking to Tyson, he's talking to Mr. Love, Darius Love. He says on here, says to Tyson, I'm gonna need those screws tomorrow. They go through this, I left them at Love's house, you're gonna have to go get them. I'm in Hattiesburg. Then he talked about the tool bag. I'm gonna leave around 9:30. He's telling Mr. Lee, you coming up, I gotta go somewhere tomorrow. If you come, I'm letting you know. When Mr. Lee says, I'm probably coming, I am not gonna be here throughout the day. If you're coming, come on. Now, I kind of skated over this, but y'all remember that Mr. Lee, the first time, 4 o'clock, goes to Mr. Harrington's apartment completely unannounced. Ron Baker admitted to that. Completely unannounced. Second time he comes over after 14-second phone, that 14-second conversation. The last thing that happens at 6:03 is a Snapchat of open. No doubt about it. That does not mean that's when Jay Reed went in the apartment. It says open. At 5:54, he says, I'm coming. He says, what's that mean? Apparently, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lee consensually went over to, obviously consensually went over to Mr. Harrington's apartment. And we're going to talk just a little bit about how long does it take to strangle. Nobody ever testified that the context of that search was how long does it take to strangle someone. Now, if you recall, again, Mr. Baker, Detective Baker, testified August the 9th, 2022, that was the search. And he admitted when he testified to that, that was not factual. The text was, the search was, how long does it take to strangle? Do we know what context that was? Absolutely not. Do we know whether or not that was based on something that Mr. Lee had said to Mr. Harrington, consistent with the conversation that he had with Mr. Fears about what he'd like to do? Absolutely not. There's a possibility there, ladies and gentlemen, and more likely, probable. Because how do we know that Mr. Harrington wasn't taking that very seriously? Because 7 seconds later, point in time, that got to type it in for Detective Baker. He was looking at something else. He was on Instagram. He was no more paying attention to that man in the moon. Agree with Detective Baker? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through some of the questions that we have about this case. Why in the world would these exhibits we talk about not sent to the lab? Why wasn't George Shiro here? You're not going to hear, you didn't hear from Mr. Shiro, but you heard from some of the stuff in his report. Why Mr. Shiro, Mr. Shiro's report said they did not put his fingerprints I mean, request condoms, then you request keys, latex gloves to be tested. None of those things were tested. Y'all heard that. I want to go through some more of the things that we have some concerns about. Think about this right here, folks. After the lab report came in, and they got it, and no doubt they at least had a preliminary report before. They go down to Grenada and start searching 2 locations, Lincoln Road, where they've been before, and they go down south of the Heritage Home. We don't have any idea if they took drones down there, people down there, what they took down there to do those searches. We don't have a report. When they did the initial search, a Molly bar, do we know whether or not they searched it with men, drones? Who went out there and searched Molly bar trailers? Nobody. We don't know. We don't know how many people went out there and what they did, because we just don't have a report of those things. Ladies and gentlemen, answer this question right here, if you can. Why in the world, technically, Mr. Porter would not provide a report with something they did 4 weeks ago? Why would they do that? Why would they not provide that report? The Berlin report.
With TSA PreCheck, I can just flow through.
It makes our lives so much easier, and it makes
the Berlin report provided Mr. Lee's car, the door opened and closed. Another fight in this courtroom about that particular item. The search warrant returned for the Ford Fusion burglar report at 7:34 a.m. Driver door open, closed. 7:34:48 p.m. The passenger door open. That's the burglar report that was introduced into evidence. You will have it. I encourage you to look at that page in that burglar report. 7:34 is what time, ladies and gentlemen. That's the time they claim Mr. Lee car 7:25 went in 7:34. My client, close proximity at that time, sitting on camera, running what? 9 minutes from the time the car went in, time that my client, it can't be both, ladies and gentlemen. It can't be both. He can't be running away, and also he can't be opening and closing that door. Can't be. Now the burglar report, again, testimony from an officer that said, hey, look, you can't depend on that report. It's unreliable. He didn't tell us why it was unreliable, how it was unreliable, or what mechanism they proved that it was unreliable. All they said, it was unreliable. I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened in Jimmy Harrington's car and the times and things that they claim happened in the car. 6:03, they claim Mr. Lee at least said open the door. Later, maybe a minute later, maybe 3 minutes later, showed up Mr. Harrington's car. Went inside. Something happened. Think about the fact that he's in Walmart at 6:41. He's in Walmart. Checks out 6:49. If they'd gone in there and talked to the attendant and say, you know, he was looking at this garbage can, what did he say to him? They didn't do that. And why would Mr. Harrington be getting a garbage can in his car? Why would he be doing that? And think about this question that I've had ever since we started this case, and they give me the discovery in this case. It's like I was before. How is it that Mr. Lee is at Mr. Harrington's apartment at a time when the lock order report says activities going on at that location? Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at that. I've got 2 questions that I want you to consider. Maybe the biggest 2 questions in this case. The first one is, how does the state establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Jay Lee was not alive with Timmy Harrington when the car arrived at Molly Bar Church? No one's testified that they identified Mr. Harrington driving the car or Mr. Lee. Think about the fact that fingerprints that were found in his car were Jay Lee's fingerprints. Think about the fact that Mr. Harrington's prints were not found on the driver's side of the car anywhere in the car. How do you know?
That's not evidence.
Testified to, Your Honor, by the officer.
Like the JD's prints, nobody testified to that.
They make these arguments without opportunity, but
The second question that we have, and probably the more important question, is how did the state establish beyond a reasonable doubt that Jay Lee was not alive when Timmy Harrington left for Walmart and returned? Timmy Harrington got back in his apartment at what time? 7:02, something like that. He left Walmart, 7:09. He left Walmart 6:49. Why would he need a boxcar? Why would he need the garbage can? Didn't have a box truck that was at the link. He drove back. There's no evidence whatsoever that Jay Lee was not alive at that time. Think about why that's important, folks. It's because they haven't proven anything in the apartment. Fire, hair, DNA, saliva, anything like that. If he was not alive in that apartment, he got back to Walmart. Now, think about this prospect. We talk about possibilities because the state laid out possibilities. Let's assume, giving the state the benefit of all their evidence, that when he left Walmart, Jay Lee was alive. Let's assume he left Walmart and Jay Lee was alive. Let's assume that Jay Lee was still in his apartment. Because if you look at the ping information that we had to introduce into evidence, not the state, we had to introduce into evidence the ping locations 7:15.
you have 4 minutes.
Thank you. 7:15 on. These are the ping 721. These are ping locations that basically tracks the area to Molly Bar Trails from Mr. Harrington's apartment. How can they establish Jay Lee wasn't in that car? How can they establish that he was not alive at Timmy Harrington's apartment during that time? Mr. Harrington possibly, we're talking about possibilities here. If you believe that Mr. Harrington found his way to Grenada, if you believe the theory that they got that he found his way to Grenada with a body, you believe it, if you find that, how can they state or prove that when Mr. Harrington went to Walmart, Mr. Lee wasn't still in the apartment alive? I'm asking them. Teddy went back to Walmart, 7:49. When he got the boxcar, which we know he had a reason to get the boxcar because the screws were there. How can they say he didn't walk up the steps, open the door, and Mr. Lee was there alive? Maybe. Because we got the pin location stuff that leaving the apartment. What if Mr. Lee was there? Dead. Nothing in evidence that support that. Here, that he could possibly been alive. Mr. Harrington came back. Because we do know this. He wasn't going to load up that car in the back of that car in the parking lot of Walmart. It made more sense if he got the boxcar and brought it back to Walmart. Box truck brought it back to Walmart first. The court hasn't instructed you that if Mr. Harrington walked in that apartment, found Jay Lee, look at the lock, resident lock door. When the door's open, the door's closed, and then again, look at it. You cannot eliminate the possibility. Jay Lee was alive, he left to go to Walmart. He came back, he wasn't. That's a possibility. They've got to eliminate all the possibilities. Not us. They do. They have to eliminate the possibility that Jay Lee got in his car with Jim Lee. They got to eliminate the possibility that didn't occur. They can't do that. Steve Harrington, we're not ever denying the fact that he was running away from the car. We never made that a point of contention. They made it a point of contention. Having photographic evidence that both of those men were not in that car at that time. It's a possibility. I'm not saying we have to prove that. I'm saying that's a possibility. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to look at the burden of proof in this case. The burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt on all four of them.
Time's up. Wind it up. Time's up.
You got to look at four options. The only option that's possible in this case, if you take the state's case, everything they have, most favorable to this. Most favorable to them is manslaughter. That's the best option with them, ladies and gentlemen. The most reasonable verdict, and the one that's supported by the lack of evidence, is not guilty.
We got about another 20 minutes. Y'all good? Y'all gonna need any time to set up, or y'all good to go? All right. Anyone wishing to leave now, you can. We're gonna have about 20 minutes of testimony once we get started.
All right, real quick. So I got about 4 minutes until my call starts. But I will keep the feed going so you guys can continue to listen to the rebuttal. So JB, she said, I'm sorry, CB says if he discussed the whereabouts of the body, the jury would have to preclude he murdered Jay Lee. I think that there's a way that, in my opinion, I think that they could finesse it though, right? If Jay Lee was dead, if my client did something to Jay Lee, how did he move his body? How did no one see it? I think there's a way that he could ask those questions without necessarily placing guilt on his client, but still addressing the fact or the claim that the state has made that he's a deceased person. So I think it's about how you do it. Like, you got to be able to be a sexy lawyer, and I just don't think that his attorney is doing a great job or did a great job. His closing was terrible. Like, he didn't even time it appropriately to get all his facts out and straight. He basically just went through and tried to repudiate all of the evidence. He should have found whatever he wanted to poke a hole in and said it clearly, and got to the point. Like, he was just all over the place to me. Like, he was just all over the place. It didn't go over well, in my opinion. I never saw Tim going into the apartment but running out. I think they showed the video of him driving in, so you may have to go back. None. His time is up. So there's gonna be another 20-minute. There's gonna be another 20-minute closing or rebuttal that's getting ready to happen. So they're just taking a break. At this point, he's trying to help the state get a conviction. I think they definitely got it. Hey, Antonio, welcome. I've never seen you over here on the YouTube channel, so hey. Thank you. Sister's about to wipe the floor with the defense. I see Sister Soldier up there. I'm excited to hear what she's about to say. Maybe a different attorney but he couldn't. I don't think that he did not do any good. His lawyering was not sexy to me. I don't think this man has that in him. I don't think he does either. They need to get their money back. I mean, anytime you could, like somebody said in the chat, anytime you could pay for a senator to come in and be your attorney, baby, you got pulled. And the way Granddaddy Bishop was on that stand yesterday, baby, everybody knows something. It was awful. I agree with that. He was horrible. I think he should have had a better plan. But he seems like the type of person that you can't talk to. So I would be surprised if somebody didn't try and help him out, but he rejected the help. Where was all of this sass he had during cross? He lost it. It was lost. Yep, nobody's seen it. It's hard to believe. Yeah. Ineffective assistance of counsel appeal. I mean, he is a public defense. Is he a public? No, he's not. He is he is not. I hope he won't be coming back to. Yeah. Granddaddy is a flat out liar. Okay. Granddaddy Bishop, hey, I don't know why the Granddaddy Bishop was called. They should have left Granddaddy alone because Dad had already testified to his strength, his abilities, and the work that he did with the grandfather. Like, you ain't need to call Granddaddy Bishop up there. All right. He didn't need to call him up there. And I think that too, when you look at how active Jay Lee was in his community, in his everyday life, like I don't think a sane person is going to draw the conclusion that he just ran away from that. So I think again that the state or the defense should have figured out how to do a little sexy lawyering and definitely try and figure that out. Okay, but I got to jump on this call. I'm gonna try to make sure that it's not super long, but we are waiting for the rebuttal from the state, and I'll put you guys on mute. Anybody that is watching from X, they are still talking in the chat. So if you want to come over here on YouTube, jump into the to get in the conversation or jump in, go right ahead. Because Taylor Game is active in the chat all the time.
All aboard that comes aboard. All right, y'all go ahead and close those doors now. Show the jury in. Are you ready? You ready? All right. Yeah, you got 20 minutes. All right, looks like everybody's back, and you may begin your final close.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have a short time to talk to you, so I want to jump right into some of the points the opposing counsel brought up. He just came up here and attempted to mislead you. I'll start with the lock audit before we get back into the actual timeline of events, because the timeline matters. So let's look at that lock audit. It's in evidence. You'll be able to take that. Opposing counsel showed you just the times of 7:34 a.m. But what he doesn't talk about is all the other times, or that this says Stephen Yoon on it. You remember, I believe Detective Baker testified that the lock report was not accurate, so it couldn't be used. Well, we know, according to the timeline, which is in evidence, it's not jump shot, we'll get to watch it. Oh, look, 6:45 a.m., he unlocked the door. He's at Walmart at 6:49. Say, you got back at 7:02, he unlocked the door. And then, remember, by 7:34, Mr. Harrington has to be all the way over at Boulevard Trails to run out. And according to his interview, he ran over there at a 4-minute mile. So, why is the next time 7:06? And then the next time the door is unlocked is also 7:06. Ladies and gentlemen, inspect all of this. I'm not going to hide it from you. It's in evidence. Because when you really look closely at everything, because we're not afraid of the data, when you really look closely at everything, Tim Harrington's story doesn't line up. Ladies and gentlemen, he also attempted to mislead you when he talked about inveigle. He kept saying force. He said he was not forced to go over there. You will have these instructions in the back, and the judge read them out to you. What is the definition of inveigle? Ladies and gentlemen, inveigle means to coax. It means to convince. You can climb a mountain. You can swim a sea. The court instructs the jury that inveigle means to lure or entice through deceit or insincerity. Inveigling has no components of force, but only coaxing. Now, we heard those text messages, and we'll go through them. But the Instagram, that's where we first find out what happens. Because in the Instagram message, Jay Lee writes, after leaving Tim Harrington's apartment for the first time, 4:36 a.m., he texts, I just wanted to be able to say I had you BDO. Again, fun to have been the first guy. Experiment over. Now, opposing counsel states that that's not Jay Lee threatening him. It's not our position that Jay Lee was actually threatening him. It's about how Tim Harrington perceived it. As someone who is deeply closeted, who's on the down low, who doesn't want people to know. You heard his family, none of them knew. Tim Harrington wasn't publicly out. Look through his Google search history. You'll see the kind of things he Googles. It's all finance. It's all celebrities or rich celebrities. Things that he's aspirational to be. Until this happens. then all of a sudden, he's either into true crime or Googling how long it takes to strangle someone right before the person he strangled shows up. So that first message, he sends that, and then he blocks it. And then he reopens the message. He says, all right, noted on your phone, you better clean that up, back to block. Jay Lee did not re-engage that conversation. The only reason it happened again is because Tim Harrington contacts him over an anonymous account. Now, it's never been the state's position that Tim Harrington created the account just to contact Jay Lee. He has another account. He couldn't contact Jay Lee on the account he was blocked from because he was blocked. And we know that Jay Lee didn't know who it was because he says, who the F is this? They want to mislead you. They want you to read things that are not there. Just read the messages. They speak for themselves. We don't have to make anything up. We don't have to pretend or read anything into it. I think who the F is that speaks for itself. And then what happens? What happens after that? Right. Tim Harrington doesn't respond, hey Jay, it's Tim. Since we're in a good place, we're in a good relationship and everything, he tries to call him 3 times or FaceTime after him, over and over. You know why? Because he didn't want to put it in writing. That's why he's using an anonymous Snapchat account. And then what happens? After Jay doesn't answer his 3 calls, Jay says, well, actually, I believe that's actually when the 14-second Snapchat call happened. And when you look at our timeline of evidence, you'll see that. That's when the actual Snapchat call took place, over 14 seconds. That's how Jay knew who it was. So they pick up with their same conversation over again. And Jay Lee says, what did you just delete? You made it like this. And what does Tim say? Come back. He asked him to come back. Now, opposing counsel wants to say that Jay showed up unannounced. And truth be told, we don't know how Jay got to the first encounter, but we do know that Tim didn't mind because look at his interview. They want to skip over what he told the police. After he lied the first time. The second time. In that interview, he says he came over like usual and he gave Tim Harrington oral sex like usual. Watch that interview. You'll have all that. He could have said that he showed up unannounced, I didn't know what was going on. He forced me to do this. No. But he said, like usual. That's what they usually do. So then, the conversation continues. Now, remember, Jay knows who this is. What did you just delete? You made it like this. Come back. Jay Lee doesn't respond within a minute. You come in or not. And what does Jay say? He says no. Opposing counsel wants to frame this as if this is not obvious what's going on. Someone is asking someone to come back who was just in a fight with them. That's very clear. From the Instagram messages where it was blocked. And then as we go on, we find out what the fight is about. And Tim asks, why not? Well, Jay tells him, you wouldn't even eat my ass 1 hour ago after I cleaned and everything. Then you proceed to nut in my mouth. Hopefully you ain't been effing nobody raw. And then ask if I'm gonna stop harassing you now and that you want to stop linking. You know how much of an asshole move that is. That's what happens the first time. It's right there. Jay Lee is upset, not just because Tim wouldn't reciprocate, but it's all the other actions. He treated him like crap. They had a sexual encounter. Tiffany Harrington was satisfied, and then he said, okay, you need to get out. And you need to stop contacting me. You're not gonna link anymore. And Jay Lee says, do you know how much of an asshole move that is? gentlemen, the defense would have you believe that Tim Harrington, or that just is being pursued by Jay Lee in these messages. The messages literally speak for themselves. And then you have to ask yourself, when we're looking at this inveigle, means to lure, entice through deceit or insincerity. Only coaxing. Coaxing means to convince. Jay Lee has said no once. And Tim, he told him why too, because you treated me like crap right before this. And Tim proceeds to convince him. Jay Lee says, you've done some questionable shit, but that, treating me like that was too much. Tells him to have a good night. Second time, Jay Lee tells him, no, have a good night. The next thing, Jay Lee says, yeah, now it seems like you're just trying to lure me over there to beat my ass or something. And why is that important? Because think about the earlier conversation right there in the text messages, where he told him how he was treated it. You just treated me like crap. You told me you don't want to see me again. You told me to stop contacting me. Now you're asking me to come back. Why? That's unusual. You're trying to lure me. Of course Jay Lee feels like he's trying to lure him over there. He just treated him horribly. Then, Tim says, you tripping. I feel bad because we're cool. So I'm not trying to end it like this. Again, telling him he doesn't want it to be over. He doesn't want to end it like this. There's nothing more to read into that. It's right there. Jay says, how are we cool? You barely want me to text you. Opposing counsel skipped over all these messages when he was going back through because he doesn't want you to see the real conversations. He wants to make it look like Jay Lee was inviting himself over. Jay Lee was pursuing. Jay Lee is asking Tim, how are we cool? You don't like me. You don't want me to text you. You just told me that you want to stop linking. You just told me to stop harassing me. Now, you're acting all different. That's obvious. Then, Tim says, you're a cool person. They go on to talk about when was the last time that Tim had sex, had that conversation, and what did we see? Jay says, because he sees Tim trying to invite him over, and he clearly likes Tim. And so he says, okay, I'll come over. If when I get there, I'm gonna have oral sex. You're gonna give me oral sex. And Tim, rather unenthusiastically, I might add, says, okay. So much so that Jay doesn't even know what he's talking about. He says, just okay? And Tim later says, I'll do it. See, that's important because that's the lie and the deceit. Think about Tim's interview, which I want you all to watch. The defense says that we don't know what the thing that's ever been done before is. Tim told us what it was in the interview. Tim says, oral sex. He says, I've never done that before. He says, he invited him over to make it up to him because he's never done that before. That's the thing. And it's very obvious from the interviews, from the text message, and from what Jay even said. Opposing counsel put that 14-second phone call. He wants to put it where he thinks it should go to help his story. But where it actually went was right after Tim called Jay 3 times. He didn't answer because Jay didn't know who it was. And then 14-second Snapchat call. That's what actually happened. And the truth matters. The timeline matters. Then, again, Jay Lee says, you know, if you try something fast, it's not good for you. And Tim says, what do you mean? And Jay says, like, try to hurt.
Don't miss out on Gab's free phones and watches, shipped in time for the holidays. Gab, safely connected.
These hands cook for 30 people 3 meals a day. I can't stop when I have dry hands.
To get out of his apartment, he didn't want to live anymore. Who just told him that he should stop harassing him, and all of a sudden, he wants to invite him over to do something, to give him oral sex, which he has never wanted to do. And Tim has never done. And so, of course, Jay is suspicious. To lure or entice through deceit or insincerity. And how do we know it's insincere? Because right after Jay agrees to go, which again, he says possibly later tonight, that's not good enough for Tim. He said, I told you I'm leaving today. Jay still wasn't going to come right then. So Tim had to convince him to come. I told you I'm leaving later today. So Jay then, he says, I'm coming. And once Jay agrees to come, you'll notice Tim never responds. He just needed to get Jay there. And right after that, he makes that Google search. How long does it take to strangle someone? Now, when Detective Baker testified, he was clear. He's not saying that Tim intentionally Googled how long it takes to strangle someone with deal. We will never know. What we're saying is that he typed in how long it takes to strangle, and when you type that in, once you get to the end of strangle, the options, like on Google, trying to predict what you're going to say, Gary Patino is the first one. So if you're moving fast, you either type that out or you click it. That's how the search is logged. That's why it's a search. Otherwise, it wouldn't be logged. They say that Instagram activity. Detective Baker testified about that too. We don't know if that was a notification that popped up from Instagram. It just says Instagram activity. You can't tell if he actually moved to the Instagram app. You just know it's activity. And since it is such a short 7 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, you can deduce that it was probably a notification that popped up. Because that's what makes sense. Opposing counsel wants to talk about possibilities, but we are not here about possibilities. We're here about reasonable doubt. A lot of things are possible. It's possible that elephants could rain from the sky. It's possible that anything could happen. To say anything could happen. Reasonable doubt does not mean all doubt.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. It's about what is reasonable. He asked 2 questions. How do we know Jay Lee was not alive when the car arrived at Molly Bar Trails? And we know that because at 7:28, the phone shuts off. That's right before he gets to Molly Bar Trails. And by shuts off, we don't know if it was broken, we don't know if it was damaged. But we also know that from the testimony of Jose Reyes and Jay Lee's mom, he never let anyone borrow his car. Jose said he don't let him go get some gas to gas it. So we know that. We also know that when the car is found, all his things are in it. The things he would need to move on, to live a life. He says, 2, how does the state establish that Jay Lee was not alive in that apartment when Tim returns from Walmart? Tim Harrington says in his interview from witnesses that said that Jaylee never had any reason to be at Molly Bar Trails. In fact, he didn't really know anybody over there. They talked about talking to people over at Molly Bar Trails who said that Jaylee was never over there. And one big point.
That's not my ring, to be sure, but I was gonna ring if you didn't. You can wind up real cold.
I will. One big point we know for sure is that how did Tim Harrington get to Molly Bar Trails? When we asked those two questions that he asked, Jaylee was not alive, and Jaylee never left or was alive when he returned to the apartment. You heard the testimony. There's one way in and one way out of Molly Bar Trails. One way in and one way out. You never see Tim Harrington run in. Not only do you never see Tim Harrington run in, you do see a few cars go in. But if a few cars go in, if Tim Harrington was in one of those cars, why didn't he just tell that to the police when he talked to them? And if that's the case, when he got out of the car to pretend the job, why did he catch a ride immediately after running out of Molly Bar Trails to get into another car to take him home? None of those cars dropped him off. It's not about possibilities. What is reasonable? Sometimes the obvious answer is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, July 8th has always been a special day for the Lee family. Stephanie Lee's birthday, and she testified that every year her son, Jay, calls to sing her a happy birthday. She's never going to hear that again. She's never going to call again. But today, it's Tim Harrington's day. It's time for him to be held accountable for what he's done. So when you go back there, look over all the evidence. Take your time, dive into the data, and find the only verdict that justice demands. That's guilty.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, can I go to work? As I told you, when we came up there, we had some spares, so we're going to be here a while. And those alternate jurors will be William Fargo. Got that lucky or not lucky, Mr. Fargo. Denise Cole. Not if you have a verdict, okay? But y'all three all come back out when you get your person along. All right, if somebody would, if that's an exhibit that's been displayed there, let's make sure you gather up all the exhibits before you go. Y'all, all right. All right, I'm just gonna say, well, let's wait till the door closed. I know I told you was going to ask a lot of you. We have. You've been away from your home and your family for a good while now. If you wish to discuss your jury service with anyone, you can. If you wish not to, tell them you don't want to, okay? I don't think we'll have any problem with persisting, but if we do, let us know. Your guess is as good as mine as when this jury will reach a verdict. If you want to hitchhike home or something before then, if you got somebody that could come this way, when the jury reaches a verdict, we will carry a bus back. You're welcome to stay in the courtroom. You can move around Oxford. If you decide to leave and move around Oxford, I guess your belongings are all still at the hotel. If you want to return to the hotel, you're on your own to do what you want to do. Your courtroom is open to you. Your hotel room is open to you. Go and do as you see fit. As I mentioned, if you want to talk about your service, have it. If you don't, go. Okay. But thank you all, and I'm gonna let them come back through around here and come out through my chambers area here. This way, okay? Yeah, the three here. Make sure we've got all the instructions and the exhibits together, okay? Back to the hotel, have at it, but since I can see it from here, I think you'll probably be okay. What's that? Counsel in their use any exhibits that were marked exhibits in your presentation? I did not. Okay, did the state?
Yeah, he came back.
Okay, everybody make sure all the exhibits are marked, all the instructions are back together. We need to talk about, has there been any thought given to, in the event that I'm sorry. Lynn, if you would, shut the door, please. Shut the door, please. Has any thought been given to, in the event that the jury wants to view any of these videos, do we have some device that's not contaminated with anything else that can be used? What have you got, just for the record? Is it already back there? Is it clean of any? Is it a clean computer? All right. I'm gonna let the clerk have the computer back there anyway. If they need any help starting or anything, Lynn, let us know and we'll make arrangements, okay? All right. Go ahead and get these exhibits back and the instructions back. I will say we've got a pretty good crowd gathered here today. I know everyone here is interested in the outcome. I know it's important to everyone. In all likelihood, sometime today we'll have a side that they feels that they've won and a side that feels they have not won. I don't know, have any idea more than y'all, anyone else do. Anybody here has heard the same testimony that I have. I will say this, whether you consider your side having won or lost, I've been in this business a long time, you can tell by my gray hair. But on both sides, I think that the evidence was gathered, the cases were investigated, and the case was prosecuted and defended as thoroughly as any case that I've ever dealt with. So whether you win, your side's win or lost, I assure you that they put on their best game and their best performance. And I appreciate you attorneys working so hard and getting the facts out there. And I'll say that. That being said, you're free to go. You're welcome to stay, okay? Court being recessed till we have a verdict.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, it just got real. It just got real, okay? We are officially on verdict watch. I'm surprised Law and Crime haven't thrown the verdict clock up there because they usually throw it up. I will say that in an hour, I'm actually doing an interview, so I will actually have to go fix my hair because and change my shirt because But I know there was a couple things that I saw people talking in the chat. There was a couple things that I felt like we needed to redo. I missed this rebuttal, so I need to know is it okay if I run it back real quick? I play it at like a 1.25 because I know I can't do 1.5 because sis talk real. She talk fast enough. But I want to see if I can run back her rebuttal. And then we need to go back and watch Granddaddy Bishop's testimony because the people had questions in the comments. So I think okay, so everybody is good with the run back. All right, we're gonna run it back. We're gonna run back sis. I'm gonna run back sis rebuttal. Oh, baby. Okay, she had a little bit more than 20 minutes, y'all. She had a little bit more than 20. She had about 25.
All right, looks like everybody's back, and you may begin your final close.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I have a short time to talk to you, so I'm going to jump right into some of the points the opposing counsel brought up. He just came up here and attempted to mislead you. I'll start with the lock audit before we get back into the actual timeline of events, because the timeline matters. So let's look at that lock audit. It's in evidence, so you'll be able to take that. The opposing counsel showed you just the times of 7:34 a.m. But what he doesn't talk about is all the other times, or that this says Steve and Union on it. You remember when Detective Baker testified that the lock report was not accurate, so it couldn't be used. Well, we know, according to the timeline, which is in evidence, it's not jump shot, we'll get to watch it. Oh, look, 6:45 a.m., you unlock the door. He's at Walmart at 6:49. Say you got back at 7:02, he unlocked the door. And then, remember, by 7:34, Mr. Harrington has to be all the way over at Boulevard Trails to run out. According to his interview, he ran over there at a 4-minute mile. So, why is the next time 7:06? And then the next time the door is unlocked is also 7:06. Ladies and gentlemen, inspect all of this. I'm not gonna hide it from you, it's in evidence. Because when you really look closely at everything, because we're not afraid of the data. When you really look closely at everything, Tim Harrington's story doesn't line up. Ladies and gentlemen, he also attempted to mislead you when he talked about inveigle. He kept saying force. He said he was not forced to go over there. You will have these instructions in the back, and the judge read them out to you. What is the definition of inveigle? Ladies and gentlemen, inveigle means to coax. It means to convince. It's going to be this jury instruction that you'll have with you. The court instructs the jury that inveigle means to lure or entice through deceit or insincerity. Inveigling has no components of force, but only coaxing. Now, we heard those text messages, and we'll go through them. But the Instagram, that's where we first find out what happens. Because in the Instagram message, Jay Lee writes, after leaving Tim Harrington's apartment for the first time, 4:36 a.m., he texts, I just wanted to be able to say I had you ETO. Again, fun to have been the first guy. Experiment over. Now, opposing counsel states that that's not Jay Lee threatening him. It's not our position that Jay Lee was actually threatening him. It's about how Tim Harrington perceived it. As someone who's deeply closeted, who's on the down low, who doesn't want people to know. You heard his family, none of them knew. Tim Harrington wasn't publicly out. Look through his Google search history. You'll see kind of things he Googles. It's all finance. It's all celebrities or rich celebrities. Things that he's aspirational to be. Until this happens. Then all of a sudden, he's either into true crime or Googling how long it takes to strangle someone right before the person he strangled shows up. So that first message, he sends that, and then he blocks it. And then he reopens the message. He says, all right, noted on your phone, you better clean that up, back to block. Jay Lee did not re-engage that conversation. The only reason it happened again is because Tim Harrington contacts him over an anonymous account. Now, it's never been the state's position that Tim Harrington created the account just to contact Jay Lee. He has another account. He couldn't contact Jay Lee on the account he was blocked from because he was blocked. And we know that Jay Lee didn't know who it was because he says, who the F is this? They want to mislead you. They want you to anything up. We don't have to pretend or read anything into it. I think who the F is that speaks for itself. And then what happens? What happens after that? Right. Tim Harrington doesn't respond. Hey, Jay, it's Tim. Since we're in a good place, we're in a good relationship and everything, he tries to call him 3 times on FaceTime after him, over and over. You know why? Because he didn't want to put it right. That's why. Because he's going to notice Snapchat account. And then what happens? After Jay doesn't answer his 3 calls, Jay says, well, actually, really, that's actually when the 14-second Snapchat call happened. And when you look at our timeline evidence, you'll see that. That's when the actual Snapchat call took place, or 14 seconds. That's how Jay knew who it was. So they pick up with their same conversation over again. And Jay Lee says, what did you just delete? You made it like this. And what's Tim say? Come back. He asked him to come back. Now, opposing counsel wants to say that Jay showed up unannounced. And truth be told, we don't know how Jay got to the first encounter, but we do know that Tim didn't mind because look at his interview. They want to skip over what he told the police. After he lied the first time, the second time. In that interview, he says he came over like usual and he gave Tim Harrington oral sex like usual. Watch that interview. You'll have all that. He could have said that he showed up unannounced, I know what's going on. He forced me to do this. No. But he said, like usual. That's what they usually do. So then the conversation continues. Now, remember, Jay knows who this is. What did you just delete? You made it like this. Come back. Jay Lee doesn't respond within a minute. You come in or not. And what does Jay say? He says no. Opposing counsel wants to frame this as if this is not obvious what's going on. Someone is asking someone to come back who was just in a fight with them. That's very clear. From the Instagram messages where it was blocked. And then as we go on, we find out what the fight is about. And Tim asks, why not? Well, Jay tells him, you wouldn't even eat my ass 1 hour ago after I cleaned and everything. Then you proceed to nut in my mouth. Hopefully you ain't been effing nobody wrong. And then ask if I'm gonna stop harassing you now and that you want to stop linking. You know how much of an asshole move that is. That's what happens the first time. It's right there. Jay Lee is upset.
When you give nothing bundt cakes, you're giving someone more.
All the other actions, he treated him like crap. They had a sexual encounter. Cynthia Harrington was satisfied, and then he said, okay, you need to get out. And don't, you need to stop contacting me. We're not gonna link anymore. And Jay Lee says, do you know how much of an asshole move that is? He tells him he's foul. And then they leak heat. Ladies and gentlemen, the defense would have you believe that Tim Harrington, or that just is being pursued by Jay Lee in these messages. The messages literally speak for themselves. And then you have to ask yourself, when we're looking at this, inveigle means to lure, entice through deceit or insincerity. Only coaxing. Coaxing means to convince. Jay Lee has said no once. And Tim, he told him why too, because you treated me like crap right before this. And Tim proceeds to convince him. Jay Lee says you've done some questionable shit, but that, treating me like that, was too much. Tells him to have a good night. Second time, Jay Lee tells him, no, have a good night. The next thing, Jay Lee says, yeah, now it seems like you're just trying to lure me over there to beat my ass or something. And why is that important? Because think about the earlier conversation right there in the text messages, where he told him how he just treated it. You just treated me like crap. You told me you don't want to see me again. You told me to stop contacting me. Now you're asking me to come back. Why? That's unusual. You're trying to lure me. Of course, Jay Lee feels like he's trying to lure him over there. He just treated him horribly. Then, Tim says, you tripped me. I feel bad because we're cool. So I'm not trying to end it like this. Again, telling him he doesn't want it to be over. He doesn't want to end it like this. There's nothing more to read into that. It's right there. Jay says, how are we cool? You barely want me to text you. to skip over all these messages when he was going back through because he doesn't want you to see the real conversations. He wants to make it look like Jay Lee was inviting himself over. Jay Lee was pursuing. Jay Lee is asking Tim, how are we cool? You don't like me. You don't want me to text you. You just told me that you want to stop linking. You just told me to stop harassing me. Now, you're acting all different. That's obvious. Then Tim says, you're a cool person. They go on to talk about when was the last time that Tim had sex, had that conversation, and what did he see? Jay says, because he sees Tim trying to invite him over, and he clearly likes Tim. And so he says, okay, I'll come over. If when I get there, I'm gonna have oral sex. You're gonna give me oral sex. And Tim, rather unenthusiastically, I might add, says, okay. So much so that Jay doesn't even know what he's talking about. He says, just okay? And Tim later says, I'll do it. See, that's important because that's the lie and the deceit. Think about Tim's interview, which I want you all to watch. The defense says that we don't know what the thing that's ever been done before is. Tim told us what it was in the interview. Tim says, oral sex. He says, I've never done that before. He says, he invited him over to make it up to him because he's never done that before. That's the thing. And it's very obvious from the interviews, from the text message, and from what Jay even said. Opposing counsel put that 14-second phone call. He wants to put it where he thinks it should go to help his story. But where it actually went was right after Tim called Jay 3 times. He didn't answer because Jay didn't know who it was. And then 14-second Snapchat call. That's what actually happened. And the truth matters. The timeline matters. Then, again, Jay Lee says, you know, if you try something fast, it's not good for you. And this is what do you mean? And Jay says, like, try to hurt me. Because you know why? He's still suspicious because Tim is acting different. He says, you barely ever want to text me earlier. He says, this is a man who just told him to get out of his apartment. He didn't want to leave anymore. Who just told him that he should stop harassing him. And all of a sudden, he wants to invite him over to do something, to give him oral sex, which he has never wanted to do. And Tim has never done. And so, of course, Jay is suspicious. To lure or entice through deceit or insincerity. And how do we know it's insincere? Because right after Jay agrees to go, which again, he says possibly later tonight, that's not good enough for Tim. He said, I told you I'm leaving today. Jay still wasn't going to come right then. So Tim had to convince him to come. I told you I'm leaving later today. So Jay then, he says, I'm coming. And once Jay agrees to come, you'll notice Tim never responds. He just needed to get Jay there. And right after that, he makes that Google search. How long does it take to strangle someone? Now, when Detective Baker testified, he was clear. He's not saying that Tim intentionally Googled how long it takes to strangle someone. We will never know. What we're saying is that he typed in how long it takes to strangle, and when you type that in, once you get to the end of strangle, the option, like on Google, trying to predict what you're going to say, you gotta do the first one. So if you're moving fast, you either type that out or you click it. That's how the search is logged. That's why it's a search. Otherwise, it wouldn't be logged. They say that Instagram activity. Detective Baker testified about that too. We don't know if that was a notification that popped up from Instagram. It just says Instagram activity. You can't tell if he actually moved to the Instagram app. You just know it's activity. And since it is such a short 7 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, you can deduce that it was probably a notification that popped up. Because that's what makes sense. Opposing counsel wants to talk about possibilities, but we are not here about possibilities. We're here about reasonable doubt. A lot of things are possible. It's possible that elephants can rain from the sky. It's possible that anything can happen. To say anything can happen. Reasonable doubt does not mean all doubt.
You have 2 minutes.
It's about what is reasonable. He asked 2 questions. How do we know Jay Lee was not alive when the car arrived at Molly Bar Trails? We know that because at 7:28, the phone shuts off. And that's right before he gets to Molly Bar Trails. And by shuts off, we don't know if it was broken, we don't know if it was damaged. But we also know that from the testimony of Jose Reyes and Jay Lee's mom, he never let anyone borrow his car. Jose said he don't let his car let him go get some gas to gas it. So we know that. We also know that when the car is found, all his things are in it. The things he would need to move on, to live a life. He says, 2, how does the statement establish that Jay Lee was not alive in that apartment when Tim returns from Walmart? Tim Harrington says in his interview that Jay Lee left a little bit before him. That Jay Lee left before him. Watch Tim's interview. He says he left, Jay Lee, and then Tim left. And then after that, he says he went to Walmart. We also know from witnesses that said that Jay Lee never had any reason to be at Walmart Trails. In fact, he didn't really know anybody over there. They talked about talking to people over at Molly Bar Trails who said that Jay Lee was never over there. And one big point.
That's not my ring, to be sure, but I was going to ring if you didn't. You can wind up your shoulder.
I will. One big point we know for sure is that how did Tim Harrington get to Molly Bar Trails? When we asked those 2 questions that he asked, Jay Lee was not alive, and Jay Lee never left or was alive when he returned to the apartment. You heard the testimony. There's one way in and one way out of Molly Bar Trails. One way in and one way out. You never see Tim Harrington running. Not only do you never see Tim Harrington run in, you do see a few cars go in. But if a few cars go in, if Tim Harrington was in one of those cars, why didn't he just tell that to the police when he talked to them? And if that's the case, when he got out of the car to pretend the job, why didn't he catch a ride immediately after running out of Molly Bar Trails to get into another car to take him home? None of those cars dropped him off. It's not about possibilities. What is reasonable? Sometimes the obvious answer is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, July 8th has always been a special day for the family. Stephanie's birthday, she testified that every year her son, Jay, calls to sing her a happy birthday. She's never going to hear that again. She's never going to call again. But today is Tim Harrington. Tim Harrington's Day. It's time for him to be held accountable for what he's done. When you go back there, look over all the evidence. Take your time, dive into the data, and find the only verdict that justice demands. That's guilty.
Okay, Sister Soldier.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, Sister Soldier. We did that.
As I told you, we came up there, we had some fire.
Yes. She did that. She said today is Tim Harrington's day. Today is his day. He took that boy from his mama on his mama's birthday. And now today is his day. Come on, Sister Soldier. Come on, Sister Soldier. Okay. She did that. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She did that. She did that. She did that. Okay, so I got about 20 minutes. So I think we'll have enough time to run back the missing daughter murder trial, Montgomery. Now, that was a while ago. We are looking for, yeah. I think we have enough time to run back Daddy Bishop's testimony. And then, y'all, I'm going to stop the stream and I'll start streaming the interview. So I'll stop the stream, we'll do the interview, and then we'll jump back on our stream to finish our verdict watch. I don't think the interview is going to be long. I'm hoping that it moves pretty quickly. There go Granddaddy Bishop.
Around, have a seat in the witness chair.
Now, say, John.
You may.
State your name if you would, please, sir.
James Timothy Harrington.
And what is your relationship, if any, to the defendant, Timothy Harrington?
Miss Grandfather.
And where do you live, Mr. Harrington, right now?
15832 Highway 8 West, Grenada, Mississippi.
Is that in close proximity to any of your children? You live close to any of your children that live in Grenada?
Yes.
Which of those, who are those children? Who do you live close to?
Reginald, my youngest son, and my daughter Natalie.
What road do they live on?
Lincoln Road.
Lincoln Road. They live in houses next door to each other?
They do.
And if you were to leave your house and go to their house, go to Grenada, if you're going to Grenada, would you have to pass their house?
I left my house going
to Grenada, would you pass Lincoln, the road that they live in? Okay. All right. So you're closer to town than they are. Is that right?
I am.
Are you familiar with a place called Abundant Life Church? You familiar with that place?
Very familiar with it. I'm the pastor.
How long have you been pastoring there?
42 years.
And you know where Sheldon and Tina Harrington live? You know their address? Is it on Broadmeadow?
Yes, it's Broadway.
I'll hand you what's been marked with identification. It's D108. You recognize this? If you would tell the jury what that report should be.
Okay. 121 Broadway Village Drive.
Does that appear to be the map for that location? Subdivision?
It is.
It fairly and accurately depicts, it's a Google map, fairly and accurately depicts the area in which they live. Just answer, is that the area in which they live?
That is the area.
I'm moving into that.
All right, you get it.
Mr. Harrington, do you go by, are you pastor, bishop, or preacher? What do they call you in town?
I answered all of them.
Actually, all of them. What do people normally reference?
Bishop.
Bishop. Now tell me, if you would, are you pretty close to all your children and grandchildren there in your neighborhood?
Very close. Very
close to Timmy.
Very close.
And did he at any point in time in his young life begin working for you in any capacity or doing anything for you there in Grenada?
He's worked for me ever since he's been big enough to do anything.
And did you tell the court and the jury the responsibilities from the early age on up until July 8th, 2022, what Timmy would do for you and members of the family?
Yes. I do a lot of rental property, and one of the main things Timmy would do was he would work with us in repairing rental properties, but mainly cleaning up around them, picking up material, trash, whatever. But that was his main job, to pick up behind those that did the work.
Did you do other things on the rental houses? Like in the summertime, did he have other responsibilities as well as cleaning up, keeping the property clean and good repair?
Yeah, he would have assignments to do pretty much whatever came up. From time to time, I would have him working with contractors, maybe putting on a roof, or tearing out sewer, picking up scrap metal and other debris, just whatever came up.
Did you tell the court and the jury generally the locations of property? I know you have a lot of units, locations of property. Did you own property in Elliott, Mississippi during July of 2022?
Yes, I own one property in the Elliott at 212 Mississippi Avenue.
And did you own any property north of town?
Yes.
How much property you own north of town?
Yes, at one time I owned two properties out of Tardale Road, which is north of town. And I had another property south of town, south of Elliott in Duck Hill. All the other properties basically are in Grenada city limits.
Did Timmy have any responsibilities in addition to the rental properties at the church throughout the years? Did he do things at the church similar to the rental properties? Cleaning up things like that? How active was Timmy in the church as far as activities within the church family?
Well, Timmy was very active in the church. In fact, he was the lead guitar player. He played for the choirs, and he even played for the service. So he was there every week, sometimes twice a week.
Now, you've identified the map as being the area of D08, being in the area subdivision out there, Clemont, correct?
Right.
Now, if Timmy were to go to any of your property that was located south of Glen Road, that he would have, the property in Elliott would be south of Glen Road, correct?
That's correct.
Bishop, the location there where Tina and Sheldon live, did Timmy also live there during the time frame of July the 8th, 2022, come and go, to your knowledge?
He did.
Sustain the objection.
Are you familiar with the fact that Timmy came back and forth from Oxford to Grenada?
All the time.
Were there occasions when you saw him, did you ever see him in the box truck during that time frame?
I did.
That's good to see.
That's not on that.
You recall the time when Timmy got arrested in July 2017, correct? And were you, at that time, Timmy carrying on the same responsibilities as far as prior to his arrest, you described as far as rental houses and the church and responsibilities at that time? Was he doing the same thing since he'd been doing time before that?
He was.
Did you at any time, was it a situation where you talked to Timmy on a regular basis about what he needed to do?
I did.
And did you have to give him details of stuff, or he basically do it on his own?
Most I would give him assignments to do. Sometimes I would give him 2 or 3 at a time, and he would do them on his time.
Told him what needed to be done, he did it on his time. That's all I have.
Cross-examination.
So, if I understand correctly, if you needed anything done on your rental properties, you would let Tim know. If you needed anything done at the rental properties, you would let Tim know. You would communicate, it's your testimony with him. Is that correct?
You said when I didn't have anything done.
I'm sorry?
You said when I have anything done.
If you needed anything done at the rental properties, your testimony was that you would communicate with him what needed to be done, correct?
You said when I have anything done. I have a lot of things to be done. Many times I had contractors to do work.
Yeah, you've got 50 rental properties.
Yes.
And sometimes the commode will go out, or sometimes you would need debris cleaned up if a renter moves out, things of that nature.
Timmy didn't do things like that. He's not a contractor.
Okay, he's on contract.
He's not a contractor.
He's not your, what do you mean by that?
He didn't do repair work by himself.
Oh, okay.
He's not a contractor. I said he would do picking up material, he would clean up. Sometimes he might work alongside a contractor.
Did you just tell the jury that if anything needed to be done by Timmy on the rental property, that you would communicate with him and let him know? I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just trying to remind you of what you told the jury. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, during July of 2022, Timmy was living in Oxford, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have Timmy's telephone number?
Always had his telephone number.
And if he wasn't in Grenada, would it be your method of communicating to him what was needed to be done to use that number?
I don't usually call him on a number and give him assignments. Usually when he was in Grenada, I would tell him the different things that I'd like to see him get done.
Now, July 22nd, 2022, Oxford Police Department takes Tim Harrington into custody. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember investigators approaching you for any information that may be relevant to that time period or relevant to the disappearance and death of Jay Lee?
Yes, yes, I remember.
Do you remember not giving them any information whatsoever?
I do.
Okay. do you remember being called, subpoenaed as a witness to the grand jury proceedings? Isn't it true that when you were called to provide testimony about the time period of July 8th to July 22nd involving the disappearance and death of Jay Lee, that you took the fifth? You took the fifth. You said, I'm not going to provide any information to that body. Is that correct?
I don't have any information to provide.
You didn't have any information, right? Because you don't have any personal knowledge of what Tim Harrington was doing on July 8th, 2022.
No.
And you don't have any personal information or personal knowledge about whether Tim Harrington provided truthful information to law enforcement on July 22nd, 2022.
No.
Now, I represent to you that Quentin Jeremiah Love represented that his relationship with Tim Harrington.
I'm going to hear the question first. Anyway.
That he testified that his relationship with Tim Harrington was close, like brothers. Do you know that to be true?
Sure.
Okay. Now he has described that he has seen Tim Harrington with girlfriends.
I knew that.
He has testified that he has seen Tim Harrington with girlfriends in the past.
Say it again.
Mr. Love has testified to this jury that he has seen Tim Harrington with girlfriends in the past.
Girlfriends.
Girlfriends.
I still don't hear that word. I don't hear the best.
What do you not understand?
I don't hear the best. I don't understand.
Oh, okay.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Have you ever known Tim Harrington to have girlfriends?
Yeah, what?
Have you ever known your grandson to have girlfriends?
I've seen him talk to girls, yes.
Okay. Have you ever known him to be interested in men?
No.
Okay. That's all right. So you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Bishop, did Tim act independently of y'all's conversations, keeping up with the affairs that you told him to do over the years? Did he have to have instructions?
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. What's the objection? Rephrase your question.
Did Tim act independently of you and his responsibilities that you gave him?
Ask him how he acted, brother.
How did he carry out his responsibilities? Did he need direction from you?
Ask and answer that are covered on Brett and Cross.
I'm gonna let him ask you.
Yes, he did hear his my instructions that he done. I would give him several instructions and you can do it on his time.
Whenever he got time to do it. Was it necessary for you to call him on a regular basis to carry out those responsibilities? Now, Bishop, did you really ever have any conversations with Timmy about his sexuality at all?
No.
Thank you.
May it's good to be finally excused.
Yeah, indeed.
Mr. Harrington, you're free to go. You're welcome to stay in the courtroom, whichever one you'd like to do, okay?
Let's bid it rest.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me ask this. State, don't have any rebuttal? I'll give you a minute to take back. I want y'all, I got some more business I gotta do.
All right, y'all. There go Granddaddy Bishop. He got on the stand. He lost his hearing. He forgot how to speak. He did not want to answer the question if Tim ever had a girlfriend. And this just goes back to my original statement that I don't feel like they did not notice it or did not see it. I felt like he was a part of a family that just did not accept it. That was not how he was raised, and therefore they refused to acknowledge it. I think that they knew that. You know, even when the cousin was on the stand that same day, they asked him, have you ever known Tim to have a girlfriend? He chuckled on the stand and said, I don't judge. So, I mean, again, to me, it's just very telling that the family is pretty much saying, yeah, we basically knew he was gay. I mean, they didn't outright say it, but I feel like they did. I also feel like his dad stood 10 toes down because he doesn't want his son to go to jail. Okay. He does not want him to go to jail. And he, they are a prominent family in this community. So saving face is important to these people, in my opinion. I think that they definitely want to uphold the image. This is a small town. Mississippi ain't that big. Well, it's a big state, but the little towns in Mississippi ain't that big. Okay. And when you are a well-known family within the community, y'all got a little bit of money. Y'all got a bunch of rental property. There's a church. You guys are pastoring in a church. You all are working in positions where your neighbors are your employees or your direct reports. And it's an interesting dynamic when you look at it. I just don't feel like he was brought up in an environment where being gay would have been okay. And they did not want to acknowledge that. So I don't think that calling them to the stand necessarily helped them. I don't believe that it helped them. I don't believe that it helped them. I don't believe that it was the right move for the defense. But I mean, the defense has made some yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't feel like the defense did a great job of defending in this opinion. In my opinion, I think that they definitely dropped the ball, and ego was big in the room. I think calling in the senator to come in and defend your child it's a power move. It's a power play, not only to the court but to the community. And honestly, it screams guilt, in my opinion. I feel like the evidence stacked against him is crazy, and a jury is definitely going to find him guilty of something. I don't think it's the initial charge that they're going to get. I don't think that they may get capital murder, but my bet is on first or second degree. I think that they have for sure at least proven manslaughter. Even I think they have, but I would prefer that they get them on second degree or get them on first. I think manslaughter is a shoo-in. It's a shoo-in. All right, so guys, I told y'all that I am about to do an interview with the Turning Point with E podcast. She is doing it on StreamYard, and so I am going to dual stream the interview so that you guys can listen in. I guess it'll be a part of our verdict watch. I'm going to see if I can keep this stream going while connecting to the other one. I hope so. That way we can keep our jury watch on. So, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to figure it out. But she's emailing me the link now. The interview is supposed to start in about 15 minutes. So, we will be doing that. And then when we come back, we are going to, okay. Yep, when we come back, we are going to, if we're still on verdict watch, we're going to switch over to the wedding anniversary murder. We're going to switch over to the wedding anniversary murder. So. Let me see, girl. All right, so I may have to stop the stream to jump over because it's not going to let me do both of them at once. So I'm going to stop this stream, y'all, and then I'm going to stream the interview, and then you guys will be able to come back and we'll finish up jury watch. Or sorry, break watch. All right, I'll see y'all in a little bit. Make sure y'all come and watch me interview.